ICAMT, the International Committee of Architecture and Museums Techniques, decided to gather short but significant stories about design of nowadays museum. In a time of uncertainties marked by the pandemic and by transition towards sustainability, digitalization and wars. The stories of architects, designers, museum experts and directors mark the transition of museum institutions which have chosen to become leaders of the changes of our time for democratization, inclusivity and accessibility to visual and material culture. Podcast goal is to reach this event with themes, examples and solutions that might become better daily approaches. Welcome to the ICAMT Podcast series. I am Maddalena D'Alfonso of the board of ICAMT, the International Committee for Architecture and Museum Techniques of ICOM, the International Council of Museums. Thank you, Cheng-Yi, for being with us at the ICAMT Podcast.
Hello, everyone.
Cheng-Yi Shin was born in Taipei, Taiwan. He is currently an assistant professor at the Department of Cultural and Creative Industries Management in the National Taipei University of Education, as well as an adjunct assistant professor at Graduate Institute of Museum Studies at the National Taipei University of the Arts. He has a PhD in Museum Studies, University of Leicester in UK. His research focuses on museum planning, museum architecture and space, museum curation, narrative environment design, and museum-related design thinking. Inspired by his cross-disciplinary background, sustainable design, building and environmental planning, he focuses on the publicness and sociality of museums and tries to understand the delicate interaction between people and museum space from the phenomenological perspective at a micro level. How can you describe your work in the world of museum and art acting in Taiwan?
I would say all my works is about making narrative environments. It has two major parts. The first one, to figure out what narratives are suitable for an exhibition project. In this part, I need to conduct the research for content development. Sometimes I work alone, sometimes I work as a team, and sometimes I have to consult or work with other experts who are good at certain topics. I love to integrate all content through lots of discussion with the commissioners, teammates, and designers to generate the proper narratives and then find out the big idea for a curatorial project. In the second part, I would do space analysis on where the exhibition will take place, try to understanding its quality, spatial quality, weakness, strength, and then develop narrative design strategy. This part is more about the artistic and the creative. Based on the above mentioned content and big idea of the exhibition, I work with my research team, museum staff, designers to generate design idea to translate the exhibition content into materialized design, to place them in museum space and to plan audiences, experiences, and circulation. Also to evaluate how this content could be represented properly with a diverse media or design concept in the exhibition.
Thank you. You are a curator involved in many cultural projects. Which of them do you consider the most significant and representative of your vision in the difficult times we are living in?
I love exhibition to replace people's stereotypical ideas in their minds with a new and inspiring point of view, and it could still look inviting. And I would exemplify the exhibition opened last summer in Taiwan called First Wave, Contemporary Australian and Taiwanese Indigenous Fashion as a Case Study. This exhibition is originally from Bendigo Art Gallery in Australia. It gathered a number of contemporary Australian Indigenous fashion designers and craftsmen and craftswomen to launch the exhibition called PIMPI, Contemporary Australian Indigenous Fashion. Last year, it was invited by the Ministry of Culture of Taiwan and the National Museum of Prehistory. The curatorial team of NMP was touched by this wearable art design piece that tells stories about indigenous cultural tradition and represent the reflection on the colonial past and the transformational justice. So afterwards, NMP team decided to conduct a research project on contemporary Taiwanese indigenous fashion design in order to make conversation with the Australian version. And my role in this project as a curatorial consultant, I participated in research, narrative making, and design stage. The most inspiring part in this development process of exhibition design is how to combine curatorial intentions and translate it into design media for communicating controversial issues. In both countries, First Nation people have been oppressed by mainstream society in many aspects. They strive to find their own cultural subjectivity in process and show their contemporary status through delicate design pieces. That's why I feel it's so meaningful, as it cares about indigenous cultural sustainability.
Great project, Cheng-Yi. Thank you very much. How can you define your work in museum and how the curatorship declines the present and the future main thematic?
Having background in museum studies, design, and space architecture, I work as a researcher and in some cases as an independent curator or exhibition planner. I think a good exhibition must have a new perspective and content, allowing people to rethink their life, even like a kind of a cultural activism towards more social, creative, and healthy vision, changing people's original cognition, or in other words, adding new and meaningful ideas to renew people's perception to certain issue. In this way, we will not just follow the existing mainstream themes when we start to curate. Instead, we would do enough research to make sure the big idea is inspiring but feasible. However, sometimes such new idea will encounter many difficulties when communicating with some conservative organizations or people. Then it may need more negotiation or compromises. Overall, still for me, a good exhibition that could make people rethink their lives is the essence and the most important purpose of making it.
Thank you. What forces and factors contribute to generating an exhibition in a museum space and architecture?
I think I will share 3 points. First of all, like I said above, the content, narrative, and big idea of the exhibition. This can guide the design concept and stimulate imagination of the exhibition design on museum space. We always find ideas from our exhibition narrative and script for creating audience experiences. The second is to determine the division of the exhibition so that the narrative can pass through different exhibition areas, and the message to be conveyed can be expressed through the design step by step. Next, we will carry out exhibition planning and design by planning visitors' experience and movement. Through the exhibition design that stimulate multiple human senses, our works go with understanding different learning ways of different audiences and try to let the audience to learn more beyond their existing cognition and knowledge about the exhibition theme. Last but not the least, time and budget. When resources are scarce, what is actually needed is a more creative and effective way to achieve a good exhibition experience.
Thank you. Very, very concrete, Cheng-Yi. You are also a book writer. How do you combine your work's theoretical and practical side?
That's a difficult question for me. Theoretical side provides point of view for me to analyze certain issues or existing phenomenon. Then I can use practical side to prove, disapprove, or add something new on the theoretical side. And the practical side always gives us inspiration and insight, even though in the process they might not be delicate or complete enough. Also, we still often could always find new perspective and ideas when we really dive into a research process. Theoretical and practical part could fully benefit, communicate, and make conversation with each other. Then writing an essay or editing a book give me an opportunity to review, reflect, even rethink the whole process of exhibition making project to another level. It takes time, but it could be very rewarding when I have time to write an essay related to some practical projects that I have gone through.
Very interesting. What do you think can be done to make the fact that museums are a significant place in people's daily life more and more authentic and relevant?
I would say 3 points for this question. The first one is about accessibility and inclusiveness. I really like the idea that museum become public space where people love to visit and stay, because healthy and well-being now is a hot topic all over the world. This is not only about treating diseases or sufferings or prolonging life. This is about feeling emotional, comfortable, and balance and belonging to the surrounding environment. So museum really can play an important role and should pay attention on how to make diverse people like to come or to participate in. The second point is about memory and storytelling. And I remember a museum scholar, Leslie Bedford, say the core business of a museum should be storytelling. Let people tell stories, listen to stories, reflect on their own experience, because human being has a nature of storytelling. Through narration, listeners can connect with the content of the museum and recall their own experience in turn. Learning occurs also slowly in the two-way communication between the self and the external world. The museum can continuously enrich the stories, and the audience can also meet different stories as they grow up. People can get more and more meaning from that. And the third part is about museum space and the placemaking. Space can really meet people's living needs and be occupied by people. The museum buildings cannot meet only the aesthetic need of architects and designers. It is also for museums' target audience, surrounding communities, tourists, etc. Make people feel cozy when they are in museum space. So for me, the best environment is to integrate the indoor and outdoor space of a museum with a life of citizens as much as possible. so that the atmosphere around the museum is no longer heavy. And museum can become a place that people naturally want to go and also supports people to connect with their own life and memory.
Very clear and interesting. Thank you. How do you apply your curatorial approach to accessibility issues?
First of all, at the beginning of the exhibition content research stage, we will use the research workshop with some important stakeholders, such as local people, local cultural and historical workers, teachers, students, etc. And sometimes focus focus group are also designed to talk with different people, such as the museum staff and the volunteer, to understanding the audience behavior, experience, and feedbacks. In addition, focus group also aim at resource groups or people who have various expectations about the theme of the exhibition. It is all about find out a large number of opinions. Last but not the least, we also conduct a lot of on-site observation and also refer to the latest related studies to understanding the use and preference of various audiences. So all works I mentioned above are in order to understanding people and to evaluate what media form is proper when doing exhibition design in every project.
Thank you. How can you define your meaning making in museum curation? Does it have any relation to museum sustainability?
Meaning making for me is related to interpretation. I always think about questions as below when I curate a project. Who is speaking? For whom is it speaking to? What narrative structure is used to speak? What language and text do you use? What medium or interface are used to speak? Any medium itself is also a message, so we have to be aware what medium we choose. These are all things we need to think about again and again when creating a narrative environment. Then, if we expand the concept of a narrative environment, the museum building and the surrounding environment will also be part of it. Therefore, before entering the museum, we have already got the impressions of a museum via many exhibition advertisements from social media, the internet, books, maps, or television. Therefore, the museum itself can be seen as a narrative medium. So the sustainability of the museum is also a large part of a cultural sustainability. It could include the voice of a diverse group of people responding to the surrounding community and the needs of the citizen, so that people can see themselves and get to know the wider world in the museum. Last, all materialized exhibition designs have the opportunity to contribute to the sustainability of the museum through the reproduction of symbolic meaning. For example, we consciously choose environmental friendly materials to choose colors that echo the surrounding environment and even spatial form that promote people's meeting and communication, which also contribute to environmental sustainability.
On behalf of the ICAMT board, thank you for this podcast and also my personal thanks. Goodbye, thank you for listening. See you soon in the next ICAMT Podcast episode.